anybody hear you?
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Maybe we can hit, yeah, okay. I got a thumbs up. There's another one. Perfect. Okay. So my name's Callie Foster. I'm the program specialist here at Montana Campus Compact, and I lead recruitment for our service members. I'm also here with Danette Fatness. You can't see her. There she is. And Danette is the AmeriCorps manager. So I know we have some Vista folks and AmeriCorps on here, so we are going to go through our recruitment and host site supervisor expectations webinar today. So let's get started. There we go. So objectives of this webinar today are to understand Montana Campus Compact's service member recruitment procedure and important dates pertaining to that procedure. We want you to understand the expectations of host site supervisors in this procedure and understand the importance of local recruitment and in your communities. So this might look like there's a lot of steps, but I promise it is simple. So this year, our procedure consists of applicant pools, which are vital to recruitment and placement of your service members. So kind of think of this as you're hiring a staff member, but although they are not staff members, they're AmeriCorps members, this process is going to be similar to hiring a staff member. So step one is applications are received through the My AmeriCorps portal, and our staff processes those applications. Step two, MTCC staff conducts intake interviews with applicants. And then we review and assign applicants to host sites for second interviews. So this is where you come in. The fourth step is to send the top candidates to host site supervisors. And then host site supervisors or equivalents interview candidates during set interview dates. And we'll go over that in a later slide. Step six, host site supervisors send their top 3 candidates to myself, the MTCC program specialist, and then MTCC makes offers to the top candidates. And if your top candidate accepts, the hiring process begins on our end. And if your top candidate does not accept the offer is made to the second choice, and then the third if the second doesn't accept the offer. Does anyone have any questions at this point? And if you have a question, you can either type it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. Sounds great. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. So the first applicant pool, you can see at the bottom of these dates, it says Vista and AmeriCorps. So that means that Vista host sites and AmeriCorps leader host sites are going to be participating in these applicant pools. So the first one has an application deadline for service members of April 21st, 2019. Host site interviews are going to take place on April 25th through the 30th. And then the host site, which is you, are going to communicate your top 3 candidates to me on May 2nd. You can communicate those top 3 candidates to me before the 2nd, but the deadline is May 2nd. And then the positions will be offered the 3rd through the 9th. So moving on to the second pool. So each of these pools are going to have very similar layouts and the amount of time given. So you can kind of view this as like a 2-week process moving forward. And to answer your question, Heather Smith, you will be getting these slides. I am recording this, and I will release the slides and this recording. So application pool number 2, the deadline for applicants to submit their application would be May 5th. Host site interviews are going to take place from the 9th through the 14th. You communicate your top 3 candidates to me on the 16th of May, and then positions are offered the 17th through the 22nd of May. The applicant pool, the third applicant pool, again, has very similar timeline. May 19th is the deadline for members to have their applications into us. Host site interviews are May 23rd through the 28th. You communicate your top 3 candidates to me by May 30th, and positions are offered May 31st through June 6th. And again, you can see up until applicant pool number 3, this is Vista and AmeriCorps. So Claire, to answer your question, how do we know each applicant pool applies to our organization? You'll know each organization will participate in each of these pools until you have selected your members. So say you have received 5 candidates from us, you interview all 5 of them and you decide that you like one, we offer that position or your position to that member and they accept. You're done with recruitment. You have your member, there they are, and we can start the hiring process and you can start reaching out to them. They can start finding housing, figuring out how they're going to get to your location and into your community. So once you have participated in an applicant pool, we've hired on a member, you're done with recruitment, so you no longer have to participate in our applicant pools. So applicant pool number 4 just consists of AmeriCorps leaders. So Vistas need to have their members decided in the beginning of June, and I'll go into that later on, but the way our programs work, because we have 2 differing start dates, we do joint recruitment, but it looks a little different as time goes on. So applicant pool will just be for AmeriCorps leaders because they have a later start date. So applications are due on the 9th of June. Host site interviews will take place the June 13th through the 18th. Host sites communicate their top 3 applicants to me by June 20th, and then positions are offered June 21st through the 26th. So important dates to remember is that member selection dates, they differ based off of programs because we have 2 different programs and 2 different start dates. So member selection dates for Vista is going to be June 7th. So, and then AmeriCorps will be August 9th. And moving on, after we have those members selected and we've gone through recruitment, member enrollment dates. And think of enrollment as hiring. We just don't call it hiring, we call it selection or enrollment. And so for Vistas, we have to have every Vista that is going to start on July 8th, which is the start date for Vistas, placed and in the system with our state and the Corporation for National and Community Service by the 21st of June. Whereas with AmeriCorps, we have a bit of flexibility and we can enroll our members on their first day of service, which is going to be September 3rd, which is the first day of orientation for AmeriCorps members. And then program start dates and orientation for Vista is July 8th, 2019, and AmeriCorps is September 3rd, 2019. Do we have any questions? Are Vistas on host site June 21st? No, so June 21st is an internal deadline more for our office. It means that we have to have all of the paperwork, the application, and the enrollment or the selection, the enrollment done by June 21st. So start date is July 8th. But we have to have that member in the system and enrolled by June 21st. Does that make sense, Sarah? Yes. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions regarding these dates? Okay. I'm going to move forward. And I would like communication from anyone if these dates are heavily conflicting with something that you have going on at your organization, because it is important to let that be known early. Judith, what is the first date we can have the Vista in our office? So the first date is going to be after the orientation, which usually takes place for 2 days or 3 days after July 8th. So July 8th will be their first day of service, which is the first day of orientation, and that'll probably go the 8th through the 10th. So the first day that you will have them will most likely be July 11th. And I'm going to look on my calendar to make sure that that is a day of the week and not a weekend. Yep, so Thursday, July 11th will most likely be the first day you can have the Vista in your office.
Tell them what AmeriCorps members will be.
And then for AmeriCorps members, the first day that you will have them in your office will be this Friday, September 6th. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on if no one else has any questions. Okay, so moving into expectations of host sites. The first one is that host site supervisors understand and follow Montana Campus Compact's recruitment strategy to streamline the process and guarantee that qualified candidates receive proper consideration. Number 2 is each host site will be responsible for actively recruiting and advertising their Vista or AmeriCorps leader position throughout their network. And number 3 is each host site supervisor or the equivalent will be available for interviews during the interview period of each applicant pool. So moving further into those, the first expectation of the host site supervisors understand and follow our recruitment strategy. This means that time is of the essence. And we say that because a lot of AmeriCorps members are applying to multiple host sites and multiple positions. And each host site and intermediary, which is Montana Campus Compact, they are also moving as quickly as we are. So if you take your time and don't follow this procedure, those qualified candidates could easily be swept up by a different program. And also, we have this expectation of you because all candidates need to be interviewed. Last year, we ran into issues that we would pass along candidates and they would not be interviewed, and we felt as if we were missing out on very qualified candidates. So tips is limit the size of your interview team to avoid scheduling conflicts. We need you to interview at the times that we have scheduled to make sure that we are all streamlining this process. And also avoid group interviews. That kind of correlates to the first tip of limit the size of your interview team. Oh, there's a question. Okay, so Caitlin asked, is there AmeriCorps specific language we should use while advertising this position? Yes, absolutely, and we can send you those resources, Caitlin, after this presentation. Okay, so the second expectation of host site supervisors is that each host site will be responsible for actively recruiting and advertising their Vista AmeriCorps leader position throughout the network. Heather, do you mean candidate groups or interviewer groups? I mean on the last slide, I mean that when you are interviewing your candidates, I want you to limit the size of the interview team. Not so much limit, I don't want you to do group interviews to have multiple candidates in one interview. I mean, for your organization, it is best to maybe have 1 to 2 people in those interviews. Okay, and someone asked me to send the language to all. I will make sure to do that. Okay, so going back to host sites are responsible for actively recruiting and advertising their Vista AmeriCorps leader positions throughout their network. This means that we want you to seek strong applicants from your local community if possible. And we want you to, this is your opportunity to utilize your local networks. Tips is to advertise in unique ways. If you advertise in unique ways for, like, when you're hiring staff, we want you to explore those unique ways of advertising and to start early. You can be advertising the positions right now. No question? No, okay. Is there anywhere we should not be advertising? I don't know. We've never received this question.
It's an interesting question.
Caitlin, we have used Craigslist in the past for our summer positions, and we don't see anything wrong with it. So if you want to use Craigslist, Indeed, Idealist, and any other job searching website, please do that. Okay, and the third expectation is that each host site supervisor or equivalent will be available for interview period during each applicant pool. Okay, so we have a question. How do we advertise outside of our areas? We are super rural in a small town community. There could be problems with confidentiality. So I'll go into ways that you can advertise locally and externally outside of your community. So before we get to that, I want you to understand this is probably the most important expectations of host sites, is that each host site supervisor or equivalent will be available for interview periods during each applicant pool, because I am giving you these dates for the interviews, but we are also giving our candidates these dates as well. So we could run into issues that if someone is not available for these interview times, that these members would possibly leave the applicant pool and not go ahead with this process. So just like we are trying to be as transparent with these dates with our host site supervisors, we are trying to be really transparent with our applicants as well.
We share what we're doing for recruitment on this end as well.
Not yet.
Okay.
So this means that candidates are applying to many sites and could be offered another position. So it's important to follow this timeline so they understand what is happening, and so they can wait around if they need to hear from you and to interview if your position is something that they are very interested in. So a tip is to reach out to candidates as soon as possible. So once I send you those applicants and the candidates, I want you to reach out to them as quickly as possible. Let Montana Campus Compact know of your selection as soon as possible. Like I said, if you know who you want to offer those positions to before the deadline, send them my way because I will gladly reach out to them. And again, time is of the essence. We don't want to wait until the very end when we're kind of scrambling for candidates or applicants to get those positions filled. So local recruitment, this is where you come in. So you can post your position to social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, advertise positions in your organization's newsletter, as well as if you are connected to other organizations that send out newsletters, just send them an email with some information to ask them to put it in their newsletter to reach a larger audience. Make sure to post this position on your website and to be steering people to your website as well as our website, because we have them all listed on our website. If you are near a local community college or a university, table on that campus. Get students in front of your face and talk to them about these positions and opportunities. And again, related to that, utilize your campus partner. Maybe ask for an email to be sent to the graduation list so they know of opportunities in that community that they could be serving at. Advertise to your current volunteers. We've seen great success with organizations that hire on one of their volunteers after graduation. Post to job search websites, like I said, Indeed, Handshake, Idealist. And direct applicants to our website, which is mtcompact.org. And then send out an email to your organization's network of colleagues. Okay, Caitlin asked, can you expand where you are advertising online? For Craigslist or Indeed, you can advertise to many different locations. Oh, not a question, just a tip. Thanks, Caitlin. So to go back to answer, how do you advertise outside of your areas? I think the best way to be doing that is through job search websites like Indeed and Handshake and Idealist. These are national websites that you could put your information out on that people from all over the US are seeing. Also, for what we are doing to excuse me, generate applicants is we can see members or potential members that have created an application on the portal. So every few weeks, we are generating a list of those members that have applications or accounts, and we're reaching out to them and saying, hey, we have these positions available, take a look at them, apply to them. Also this year, we have been in contact with many universities and colleges throughout the West. We are starting regionally and then hopefully reaching out nationally to professors and department chairs and people that we think are suitable to get our information out. So we have a list of about 75 to 80 professors or department chairs or even service learning offices on college campuses to help get those students aware of our positions. So we're trying to reach out in many different ways this year of or people that have already started the application are looking for service, as well as people that have maybe never considered national service as a way to further their career or develop professionally. So we are doing things on our end, and we expect you to do things on your end as well. So local recruitment, this is where you come in to help us. And if you have someone that is interested, either steer them towards the My AmeriCorps portal or our website. Okay, so that was a pretty quick presentation. I will send out this recording as well as these slides, but now is the time, if you have any questions that I didn't answer, either enter them in the chat box or unmute yourself and we can discuss it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Did you mention that we're sending out emails to recent grads at UN?
Oh, yeah, and I'll touch on that. So we have graduation list from colleges that are in our compact, and we have sent out emails in the past and are planning to do it this year to those recent grads here at and we have contacts throughout the state to also send out those lists, or those emails to that list. So if you also have a contact at your campus partner, or you are on a college campus and can get those lists for us, or you have the option to send out the email, please do so, because as we know, recent grads or people that are going to be graduating this May, they are looking for opportunities. So,
did we mention we just sent out materials to our advisory council?
Oh yeah, and we have sent out like hard copies of recruitment materials in the form of flyers and pull tabs to our advisory committee, and those are our contacts at every community college, tribal college, and university in the state, so that we are advertising on those campuses. So let me move up on the chat box because we got a few questions. All right, so Shayla said she just got approved to send emails out to Rocky students. That's awesome. Anna Margaret says, is there any way to see if people have already applied for our positions? No, so there is not a way for you to see that, but if you have someone that is interested or has told you that they are applying, you can email me and I can let you know that, but we do not send out a list of people that have applied as of right now. We send out a list to you of the people that we do intake interviews with. Claire, how much does the position pay? Can we include this in our recruitment advertising? Yes, you can include this in your recruitment advertisement, and we can send out that information to you as well. Claire, I am unsure if you are AmeriCorps or Vista, because the pay, or like we call it, the living allowance, is different depending on if it is AmeriCorps Leader or Vista. How many sites are in Montana and how many applicants do you expect? So Heather, we have, I believe, around
35 to 40?
35 to 40 at this point of sites. And how many applicants do we expect? As of last year's number, I think we're seeing a matter of 180 applicants as a whole pool, but I cannot tell you how many applicants we received for each site. That would take a little extra digging. Caitlin, do you already have the list of recent graduates from UM, or should I try to find that? Caitlin, we have a contact here that we can receive that through, so do not worry about that.
And we, so we can provide you guys also with electronic copies of our flyer so that you can print them out for your own locations and potentially send you hard copies. I don't know if we have any more of them left. So just let us know if you need marketing materials.
Yeah,
well.
we can send that, and you can have it printed. The UM classes also have Facebook groups like UM Class of 2019. Thank you, Jordan. I will look into that for sure.
Yeah, and send us your creative ideas on how to market this as well, because that will help us help everybody in the state.
Sarah asked, what are some tips about challenging cultural assumptions in creating space so more minorities can have opportunities to join the nonprofit world? What are some of the things that would disqualify applicants during the first round? So the only thing that would disqualify someone is there are education qualifications for VISTA. They do have to be a college graduate. And for AmeriCorps, they have to have some college. So we're looking for an associate's degree, or if they have a lot of experience and some college, we can kind of look past the degree requirement and look at their amount of experience. Let's go back. Let's make sure we answer all the questions. So we are hoping that by pulling from different universities throughout the West, that we will see a more diverse applicant pool. We have run into some issues with, I don't know if it's just Montana or I'm not quite sure what it is, but we do usually see a decent amount of a lack of diversity in our members. But we are trying to
Right.
that.
So the ability to be able to serve, leave your community and your family generally is more of a middle class population. We would love to see everybody be able to serve. So we really try to work with all of our applicants to see how we can help get them to Montana, but that is kind of a barrier to service, and certainly something that even the grant funders and stuff are thinking about. How do we help everyone be able to serve? And that's where the local recruitment comes in, because you can, if you don't have to move to Montana and you already live in that community, it's easier for you to maybe begin having a living stipend that is a little less than a job would be with that education award and stuff. So some of that will help us as well.
Yeah. So someone asked, are all applicants background checked, or does the site need to do that? So we have vendors that we are working with on the AmeriCorps side of things, and we do the background checks. So that includes an FBI background check, a state background check, and a national sex offender background check.
A state of Montana and a state of residence. So we do a lot of vetting, and it is required that we do it. Even if you have to do it, we have to complete all of those.
Yeah, so for compliance reasons, we do those background checks. If you as an organization requires a background check, we do not do that for you. That will have to be part of your hiring process.
We will send you a determined eligible to serve for AmeriCorps members. I'm not sure how VISTA works, but a determined eligible to serve, which means that they have passed all requirements that AmeriCorps and the Corporation of National Service requires for them to serve directly with youth.
So Caitlin asked, are leaders getting move-in stipends this year? Yes, each program does offer a relocation allowance, but they do differ.
With the VISTA program, it comes from their grant funding, and what Montana Campus Compact has done, because we know that it is a burden to move to Montana, we are able to offer funding out of our operation budget. So it is not the same as a VISTA relocation allowance, but our AmeriCorps members also, their living allowance is slightly larger, so they receive those funds over the year to kind of make up for what they don't get in that bulk amount for relocation allowance.
Are there any other questions?
Since we have you guys here, I know this was focused on recruitment, but also thinking about how you can support your members in the community around helping them find affordable housing. We know that affordable housing in many of our communities is very difficult, so we do depend on our sites to kind of work with their communities. Maybe a board member or a professor in your community or somebody has an extra room in their house, or some of our sites have what we refer to as an AmeriCorps house that they like to, they have something set up with the landlord so that they can keep moving AmeriCorps members in and out of these houses. So housing is always a concern for our members. So be thinking about how you might be able to support your full-time members coming into those communities, especially some of these very rural communities that we are able to serve. And you guys can always help in however your programs can help members to be successful in the community. So you could offer them an Albertsons card. I don't know if an Albertsons is in your town. These kinds of things as well to support members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen success with host sites that are on campuses and securing student housing for our members. We've seen that in the past, and that seems to be a very affordable and great way to help our members find housing. Also, Jordan said if they're in Missoula, they can check out umt.edu/housing finder and can give Jordan a call at 406-243-2017 for housing help.
And the other thing in Missoula, they are allowing AmeriCorps members or VISTAs to apply to student housing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, off-campus student housing.
So if you don't have this in your community, talk to your campus and see how you can help support your members within your community with housing.
Definitely. And if you think of any other unique ways to support your incoming members, please let us know, and we can let them know of that resource. Or once you have your member selected and they are in the process of relocating, let them know if you know of any resources or if your organization can provide any sort of help. So it looks like Caitlin asked Jordan, what is your site for context? And Jordan said, I supervise the ASUM Renter Center, the advocate for off-campus renters. The VISTA will work in the UM food pantry.
Very nice. And our VISTA leader is working on a statewide housing plan, strategic plan or initiative to try to help all AmeriCorps programs in the state be able to find housing, because it's not just our members, it's all of them.
Yeah.
And Montana has one of the highest per capita AmeriCorps members serving in our state. So we're doing great service with 16 different AmeriCorps programs.
Okay, so Sarah asked who is working on the housing support. So each program through our office has a senior leader. So VISTA has a senior leader that is housed in our office. And then AmeriCorps also has a senior leader that is in our office. And the VISTA leader is working on a housing initiative for all AmeriCorps programs throughout the state. So looking for resources, having contacts there. I do not know if it's in its final stages or if she has completed it, but once we have that information and we start onboarding our members, that information will be disseminated to them. So we are trying to work on it from our end, but if you have any resources, like I said, please reach out to us or reach out to your member once you start the onboarding process. Okay, so it looks like Judith is asking if anyone in Bozeman wants to work on finding a place for their people to room together. So you can email Judith if you are in Bozeman, and if you are in the chat, Judith has listed her email there for everyone. I was a service member in Helena for 2 years, from 2015 to 2017, and I lived in what we call the AmeriCorps house, which is owned by a man named Dustin Wood, and he only rents out rooms to AmeriCorps members. So we would love to see that happening in all other communities that have AmeriCorps members, but there is evidence there that it is successful. So we'd love to see one in Bozeman, in Kalispell, in Billings, wherever. Yeah. So check the chat for Judith's email. And if no one has any other questions, I think we can log off early. I will release this webinar recording and the slides to everyone, whether you were here or not. So look for an email from me. On this last slide, you can see that I have included my name and my position, my phone number, my email address. I've done the same for Jeanette that is sitting here, and then also Colleen Paluzzo is the Vista manager, and I've included her contact information as well. These names, maybe besides mine, should not be new to you. You've probably been in contact with both Jeanette and Colleen, so keep us in mind if you have any questions. Okay. All right, well, you're welcome, and let me know if you have any questions, like I said, or concerns, and we are here to figure things out. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Oh.